listeners, and welcome to Respectful Disagreements, the hour long journey where perspectives collide and conversations ignite. I am your co host, Joel Peterson, and tonight we're delving deep into the heart of some of today's most pressing and provocative topics. In this corner, we have myself, a conservative black male, and a man who brings a blend of traditional values and insights. In the other corner, we have my lovely co-host.
Oh goodness. Yeah, I guess, Joel. I appreciate you. My name is Shahree Douglas, and I am your fabulous liberal black woman on the show in this corner and giving it to the people. So thank you again. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in again. So this week we're going to touch on a topic that was recent in the news. If you have been paying attention, last Thursday, Republicans who control the Wisconsin Assembly approved a bill last Thursday, that called for a binding statewide referendum to ban abortions after 14 weeks of pregnancy. The current Wisconsin law prohibits abortion after 20 weeks of pregnancy. So, very touching subject. We know, boy, I don't even know when, but late last year, Roe versus Wade was
Yes.
overturned.
Yes.
And it's been very, very touchy situation and feelings across the board for everyone.
Yeah.
So yeah, why don't you kick us off? Let us know. Did you hear the news? Did you?
Yeah, I definitely heard the news, and I feel like before we really dive deep into this, I feel like I have to take a moment to just really approach this very sensitive topic.
Absolutely.
This is a topic that is can be very stressful and tense, and I want to approach this with the proper respect that is needed. Being a man speaking on, um, pro-life or pro-choice, that is something that I don't take lightly and something that I respect very reverently. And so, I am not pleased with um, the way that it's been handled, in the media and everything else. You have people celebrating and all of these different things, and so I think I feel like you can't
Celebrating because it was overturned.
because it was overturned,
Gotcha.
right? I feel
Yep.
like you can't, and even though that's my position, right? I do not believe in abortion, right? But
Mhm.
at the same time, I don't feel like it's something that needs to be celebrated, right? And when you're dealing with a topic that's that sensitive, people shouldn't be out celebrating and being in the streets and saying "told you so" and all of these different things when it's a
Sure.
matter that is that serious. And
Absolutely.
so, I just feel like I had to get that out of the way first before we really dive deep into this. But my position on that is that, yeah, I don't believe in abortion.
Okay. And that's, hey, there are two sides to this coin. And I'm pretty sure
Absolutely.
there's folks that sit on the fence, depending on circumstances and
Right.
situations. And give us a little understanding of why you don't. Because I do. I do.
True.
I am for it. I'm for reproductive health of all people. And I feel like abortion is a part of that process, included in reproductive health.
Yeah. So I believe that, once a egg is fertilized, I look at it as a human. It is a human, and so I look at it. You know, terminating a pregnancy is the same as terminating a human, and so, um, I don't draw the line as saying, "Oh, it's in the stomach, so it's not human." It's not a actual person. So I believe that once conception is completed, that is a human, and so I feel like they deserve the same rights as normal humans.
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
I do believe that, like you, that there is human life there. However, there are circumstances that may or may not come into play when someone is deciding whether or not they want to carry this life full term.
So, and then so let me clarify a little bit. this is not like necessarily a blanket statement when I say I don't believe in abortion, right? But there are
That
certain
surprises me.
there
You're
are.
such an all or nothing kind of guy.
It's true. That's true.
Yeah.
But I I I think that in the event that the mother's health is threatened,
Mhm.
then I believe that option should be on the table.
Because that is part of reproductive health,
Sure.
right?
Right.
In a family, I believe that a woman, a person who is pregnant, should have full autonomy over their body, correct? And to be able to make those decisions, whether there is a crisis in those moments or not. Well, I shouldn't even say that because I'm going to step out on a limb and say if if someone is considering abortion, that it's crisis might be a little overblown, but there's a reason for that, and there's a reason why that they're making the decision not to carry a pregnancy full term, and so there are a lot of things that uh, need to be considered. There's financial stability, how there's all the things.
Sure. So I guess my rebuttal to that is, um, those decisions that are made, um, should have been made before you had unprotected sex. So I don't feel like all of a sudden, once there's conception, now all of a sudden, oh, you become responsible. Now all of a sudden, oh, it's real. Now all of a sudden,
No,
all of these things.
I think
So
it's always real, right? And so
so
there are
bef-
instances where
so I feel like
maybe
that's where the choice.
protection is
I
used
feel like
and
that's
it
where the
doesn't.
I feel like that's where the choice comes in.
There are lots of contraceptives on the market. Um, None of them are, well, I shouldn't say that because I don't know all of them, but I think the typical ones, I don't think any of them have a 100% uh,
Sure,
rate, right? And so there's always a possibility.
sure.
That doesn't make the decision to, should you become pregnant,
I just got
then
yeah. I
then all
was
of a sudden no, you were responsible when you decided to have sex,
no,
right?
you weren't responsible.
Yeah, if a woman is using birth control of any sorts, that is taking a step of responsibility of saying I'm not ready to get pregnant yet, but that doesn't mean
Not true. So
that is true.
it's not true. Like, for
Maybe not for
instance,
all folks, but that those are true instances that
so
happen.
I mean, no, and I'm not invalidating the those experiences that you're saying. But what I am invalidating is the fact that you're labeling that as responsible. I remember growing up and the conversations that me and my parents had, or me and my village, period, not just my parents, my brothers, or
Sure.
whatever the case is that you shouldn't have sex until you're ready to have a child.
I don't believe that. I believe that, having sex, yes, obviously leads to that, but you're allowed to, if that is your choice, if that is um, what you would like to do,
So okay,
being responsible and understanding that would be to use the proper contraceptives
okay,
when you're doing it. That is responsibility. That is taking the steps. Yes, I agree. Nothing's 100%. However, it isn't either you don't have sex, nothing, or when you do, you're gonna have a baby. So therefore, it's either, again, here's your all or nothing case that me and you never agree on.
sure.
It's all or nothing, and that's just not
No,
realistic.
what I am saying is that the responsibility of when you enter into, I feel like sex is so casual now,
I don't disagree with you
right?
on that.
Sex is so casual now
Mhm.
that people don't enter into those type of relationships, with the full thought process of what could happen. Like, when I tell my children about certain things, how to respond to police, how to respond to this, I'm telling them all of these things about life because of what could happen, not because it's going to happen, but what could happen.
Sure, but
And so it's the same thing. I don't understand how we don't use that logic in this. Like it's we use it in every other instance.
I mean, I don't know who we is. I don't you speaking French, but I don't know who we is because I I don't think people live their lives on it could. Like I tell folks, like it could rain for 12 days. Like what should I
Hmm.
always be prepared? Like there are things that you can prepare yourself for, and if you are preparing yourself properly and understanding that you may want to have casual sex, I again responsibly, if that is your choice, that is your choice to do that. I'm not saying
So I
you
understand that if
should.
that's your choice and you make that decision, then you have to deal with the consequences, whatever they may be. What instance can you do something and not deal with the consequences?
I'm not. I'm not disagreeing with you. I agree on that. But then there are choices that you can make. Therefore, if you decide, hey, I am going to take birth control, and
I wish we had
I
birth control up here right now because I don't know, but I'm and so I'm making an assumption, right?
okay,
I'm
where are
definitely
you
making an
going with this?
assumption, but I'm saying that I think on the box there's like a percentage, right?
We just talked about that. Nothing, not. I don't.
Right. So
There might be some
so
stuff that's
but you're
100%, but I
so
don't think
no, I'm
so.
not saying, but it's like 99 point whatever the case so
So that's, I
so
mean,
a 0.3%. So we're talking about the thing that you're
absolutely,
talking about is not the
absolutely.
majority. If the contraceptive is 99.3% accurate or whatever the case may be, then you're talking about a
Well,
zero point seven
there
percent.
could be some user error on some people part. Could be some user error on folks' part.
True, true, true.
So I mean, there's that. But I'm speaking in terms of, again, I'm not going to make the assumption that folks are out here having unprotected sex. I am really speaking to um, people making the right decision. Again, having the autonomy over their body to make the decision that is best for them. And if
But you
they
had that autonomy before.
and you
Use it
still
then.
do,
Use it then. Use it
absolutely,
then. You so
absolutely.
I don't subscribe to the fact that the choice begins once conception happens. The choice begins before that.
So here's what I think. I think we more effort, speaking of contraceptives, what I'm talking about, in educating people on that, so that, to your point, there are less folks who have to make such a critical decision um, based upon whatever needs they have or do not have. And so I fully believe in um, sex education in schools, especially for our young people, introducing them and letting them know of the options. Again, the options that they have. I think part of that conversation, to your point, is about waiting for the right person, understanding that casual sex leads to a lot of other things and other emotions that kind of go all over the place. And they should really hone in and focus on self, betterment of self, until they find their special person. But I'm going to be real, and it's 2024, and that's not. So I think the responsible and thoughtful thing to do is to ensure that people have access and resources to contraceptives, that they have the education on how to use it, and that they, again, have the access should they need it, and that it's not this secretive dark cloud hidden. And I think what you're getting at is that it has been sex has become casual, but I feel like it's a dirty word, or it's dirty to talk about it. It's dirty to talk about sex. It's dirty to talk about contraceptives. And so people, using air quotes, hide in the shadows about it, especially young folks, because they ain't doing what they're supposed to be doing in the first place. But I think with education and knowledge is a lot of power, and in that power is also understanding power of self. And I think more people would make smarter decisions, sort of what you're talking about, in waiting, had they, or if they're given the education that they need for that.
I mean, I think you explained it really well, and there's a lot of that that I actually agree with. But the fact,
But
yeah, but the thing that still strikes me as irresponsible is the fact that we're letting people off the hook with their responsibility, saying like, okay, I need you to understand this, right? I need you to understand this, because I'm not one that says you got to do everything that I say. Like, I don't come to my kids like that. You you know, whatever the case is.
sure.
No, but what I want you to do is to be informed of all of the potential outcomes if you enter into this. And that's the case with everything. Whatever decision they have to make, we're going to sit there and we're going to talk about it, and we're going to talk about all the potential outcomes. And are you ready for all of these potential outcomes? Because we don't know. We don't know how it's going to happen,
And that's part of
right?
the education I
And
speak of.
and so
Absolutely.
so that's my whole thing, is we're letting people off the hook and entering into that
That's
relationship,
not
or
letting
entering
folks off
in.
the hook.
It is, because you're
By
saying
educating folks?
no, 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 not by
Oh,
educating. No, no,
okay.
no,
I'm
no, no,
sorry.
no,
I'm
not by
sorry.
educating. Because I told you I agree with that
Okay.
part, with
Okay.
that part, right?
Gotcha.
But I the part where I have to draw the line is that when we enter into these relationships, we have to be aware of all the possibilities. And if you say yes, I want to do this, then you have to be willing to accept the consequences, or whatever the outcome is.
I have a question for you, friend.
Yes.
What happens if abortion is not available? What do you think is going to happen then? Because I feel like, obviously, access again to contraception,
Hmm.
contraceptives, access to full healthcare, reproductive healthcare, including abortion, um, is very, very important, especially for families, people who are a lower income. Um, because then folks will potentially result to other measures. Um, in this case, if in Wisconsin we get to that point, access to the nearest local other state is just not there. And then I think about social services and resources that people will need or support to take on a child that they have decided they didn't want, because that option isn't there anymore. But I'd like to hear your thoughts on, like, what happens if it just is not available anymore.
I mean, I think a myriad of things can happen, and I believe that if we kind of go through all of the things that could happen, like this is like a 3 hour show.
And
You know what I mean?
I
So
mean, but
yeah,
it,
there are going to
but
be some people that respond to that really terribly and do horrific things.
so I'm thinking
But
about
then there are,
from a community standpoint, to your
sure,
point. But that's my point. And so having these
some
resources,
some people,
some
right?
right, just like
Not
only
all.
some people
Hmm.
are casually sleeping around, maybe under. So I feel like we use kind of these really large brushes to say this is why we shouldn't have something, i.e., access to full reproductive health, because of some, right? And it's, again, for me, it's about education. But if it was not available, I think we would be worse off as a society if abortion is clearly off the table for women's rights.
So can you foresee, right? Because we're assuming, and we're projecting into the future, right?
Mhm.
So here's the other side of that.
Okay.
If people know that abortion is not an option, do you think that the conversations would change, and people would educate people, and people would go into relationships knowing that I if we do this, because here's the next thing. I don't believe in accidents. Everybody talking about I didn't plan this baby. Yes, you did. We all know what happens when you have unprotected sex. So nobody's like,
Again, let's not assume that all sex was unprotected.
okay,
That's
so
that. That's that. I'm
0.7%.
I'm
So
going to
you're
say maybe that's
0.7%.
the small
Okay,
accident,
you're
right?
0.7%. Okay, sure. All right, that's an outlier, but sure. Okay,
Sure,
let's deal with let's deal with. We're talking about the majority, right?
maybe,
No, there's no maybe. There's no maybe. Or
maybe.
or
Well,
Trojan
okay, I'm
needs to
sorry.
be or
I'm sorry.
Trojan needs to be sued for false advertisement if they're talking about 98 effective, 98%
Again, I'm gonna say due to some lack of education, it could be user error, but we'll
So
continue.
yeah. So now, but yeah, so that's what I mean, that's
I
kind of what I was getting at.
I hear you, but
The conversations that could happen because you know that this is not an option anymore. So now we're going to take these conversations seriously. Now mothers and dads can take these conversations serious.
or future potential.
Sure. So it could spark those conversations if this is not available. So you can look at it. You can look at it.
I'm gonna say no. I guess no. My gut tells me no because again, with the lack of education around sex, intercourse, interactions, whatever you want to call it,
Mhm.
we'll still be in the same place.
Relations,
Relations,
entanglements.
entanglements. you, we're going to be in the same place,
Mhm.
and I think it's all starts with proper education.
Okay, so can I ask you this question?
Of course, friend.
So the moment that a child is conceived, do you agree that that's
A life.
a life?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So when a person takes a life out here, what is that called?
It depends.
Okay. There's only like three options. So what is it? What is it?
You want me to say murder?
Okay.
Okay.
So when a person takes a life, it's considered murder out here. But when a person is in a belly, it's considered reproductive rights.
That's a reach,
It's not a
friend.
reach.
That's
If that's a
oh,
if
you
that's a
reaching.
child,
You reaching.
that's a
You
child. That's a
reaching.
person.
That's a reach.
It's not.
That's a reach.
So here's the next thing. Here's the
Okay.
next thing.
Okay.
I feel like there's so much, and I'm not calling you a hypocrite, but I feel like there's so much hypocrisy
Yeah.
in this,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Because let me pull this up
because
because
I'm gonna
I
say
want
the
to.
folks who are trying to out. I mean, we
No,
have
no, no.
seen. Okay.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
you
yeah,
do.
yeah. No. So no, I was saying hypocrisy from this end, right?
Okay.
So you said that's a reach. Me saying that me equating murder on the outside to reproductive rights on the inside, right? You're saying that's a reach.
Yes.
So, but here's the thing.
Because we are talking about someone's personal health. We are talking about not only that their personal health, but then their uh, all the other things that come with
The
being
thing,
pregnant
but what
and
that needs to be
bringing.
thought about before you entered into this.
I'm not again. I'm not going to disagree with you on that. But at the
Okay,
same time,
but
things happen. And I
let me can I finish this point
okay,
really quick?
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
So you call that a reach.
Hmm.
Me saying that the person in the belly is a actual child.
Hmm.
So then can you explain you the Unborn Victim of Violence Act?
No,
Okay, so let me break that down.
please do.
It was a law that was adopted in 2004.
Okay.
It was introduced in 1998, but it was a law that was adopted in 2004, which means that whatever violence that I do against you, if you are pregnant, then that's another charge on me. So if I commit assault and battery against you and you're 1 week pregnant, that's two charges against me because the courts and the legal system and the law recognizes that as a child. So if I unfortunately, if I was, I'm going to use assault. I'm not going to go to killing, right? But if I was to assault you and you're 1 week pregnant, I have two charges on my account because because the courts recognize that this is a child. So if I harm you and you're pregnant and that child gets terminated because I harmed you, then that's killing in the court's eyes. But if you do it, it's reproductive rights.
Yes, because my health is involved.
Huh?
My health is involved. What you
Like,
mean?
huh?
My health is involved. Especially when we look at Black and brown communities in our health system and the rate of premature birth and death among Black and brown women due to pregnancy
Mm-hmm.
and not receiving quality health care. We're talking about a person's personal health.
So
we are talking about the
understand
health.
this.
We are talking.
So understand this. I said in the very beginning
I'm
that
sorry.
if the woman's health is in question, that if she delivers this baby, if she
I'm
delivers
going to
this
stop you with the
baby,
in question because I feel like that I agree with that. Yes, if a woman's health is in question, she is pregnant, she is experiencing some
then that
some
option should
issue,
be on the table.
then that option's on the table. But I guess why for women's health, why do we have to get to a point where we on a deathbed before we can exercise our rights?
Because that's a child. So so my thing is I'm not granting the mother more privilege than the child. The
And
child
then I also
the
have
child has
to
the
bring
same
up the fact
amount
that
of
people
rights.
like I
The child has the same amount of rights. If it's a human, which the
Mhm.
court says it's a human, I
Mhm.
can get charged with assault and battery of an unborn child. The courts recognize that that's a human,
Mhm.
so that they don't have rights.
Mhm.
Everybody has rights.
Everybody has rights.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
So how does your rights trump the child's?
Because the life that needs to carry the child has to be in good physical, mental, emotional, financial well-being. Otherwise, this child will
And
not.
so she just recognized that now. She didn't recognize that in the
Again,
beginning.
I feel like there's this you're drawing a really hard line in the sand about a woman. I feel like right now it's very obviously because we're talking about the person who is carrying it, which needs to have reproductive health
Yeah.
to conceive and to carry a child. But this is also a two-way street,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so a woman's health, again, has to be in good health, and that is including her physical, her mental, emotional, financial as well.
She needs to be in good health before she starts having sex. Then.
Yes.
Okay.
Sure.
All right.
But we all have the option to choose. Again, I feel like that you are putting this all in one basket as like women are just out here just throwing themselves all around.
So first of all, that's not what I was saying.
But that's what you're leaning into.
No, I'm
yes,
not.
you are. Like,
no,
oh,
I'm
well, if
leaning
you lay
into.
down and come on.
I am leaning into that. There's a responsibility
And
that
there you
that
can
needs to be
responsibly
taken.
have sex.
There's a
and things could
responsibility.
happen.
There is a responsibility that needs to be taken before sex.
I
And I don't feel like no one, male or female, is excused of that.
Again, I believe in responsible people making a choice.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
And if in that choice a pregnancy happens, it can be a discussion between the two of them. If this is something that's going to go further than that. And if one of the parties says no,
Ooh, ooh. Do you want to recant that? If one of the parties says no,
yeah, there's two involved. If one of them says, or they both say, maybe they both agree, like, you know what?
so all right. When we
I,
when okay,
I
all
know,
right.
look on your
I feel like you
face.
stepped in a
No, I didn't
in
step
a
in anything. I just know where you about to go. I know
so
what I
so
know.
if one
I
of the
know you will.
parties
Here
if
we go.
one of the parties says no or yes,
Hmm.
then what? I need you to finish that out.
It depends on how the situation goes, but
So if
at the end of the day, the
if
person who is
the
carrying the child, yes, I do believe the person who is carrying a child has the ultimate decision.
so you should recant that
because
statement. So
because
it's not if
because
one of them. It's if the woman. So say that.
because I'm going to go back to it is the health of the person who is carrying it, right? So if in that situation, if the woman's carrying and the person who she calls or they meet up and, hey, I'm pregnant, like, what would you like to do? And the other person is like,
I want to keep it.
I want to keep it, then maybe that's a discussion that they can have. I know what you're gonna say, but
Well,
it's ultimately the choice of the person carrying the baby, because again, physical health, emotional well-being, financial well-being,
should be thought of before.
things
Should be thought
happen.
of before.
Things can happen though. Things can happen. And who's to say that they're not? I mean, I feel like, yep, we're making instances where in every case that every time folks lay down together that a conversation hasn't been had or they haven't talked it through, probably sometimes and sometimes not. But for the health and well-being of the child, if I am not in good health and good well-being, um I might feel like bringing a child into this world would not be in their best favor. I mean, we had a discussion 2-3 weeks
Then
ago
then then
about that,
put the
right?
child up for adoption. Because it's not the child's fault that you didn't think this through. It's not the child's fault.
Mhm.
You didn't think it through. If all of a sudden
And then
that now
this all again. Woo.
that if now I'm pregnant and now the picture becomes clear. Oh, I'm not in a good financial situation. Oh, that happened in 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 2 months. No, you knew that before. Okay, I'm not in a good emotional situation. Oh, that happened in 3 weeks. No, you knew that before.
But again, we're even talking about people who are in long-term relationships, people who are married,
Mm-hmm.
who find out that they're pregnant.
Sure.
And I mean, so, I don't want to lean into, oh, this is just all casual and
Sure.
that,
But even in that,
these are just responsible people that are just, again, laying around all over, right?
then
These are decisions that even long-term people in long-term relationship, people who are married, have been married, um it yeah, there's been times where, again, anecdotal stuff that you read in the news, that folks had been, wanted a baby, couldn't get pregnant, decided to stop, didn't want kids, and then here it is 5 years later, ta-da.
mm-hmm.
And now, older and decided that they don't want to have a child now, because
then
now the
give it
time.
up for adoption. It's not the child's fault. It's not the
I
child's
hear what you're
fault.
saying, but it is the
Poor planning
responsibility
is
of the
not the child's fault.
woman's body to carry this life, and a lot goes into that. So if a person carries a child, and again, due to not having access to quality health care, being in very, very stressful situation,
That she knew before.
and subsequently has a miscarriage, you gonna charge her for murder for that?
Are you serious?
I mean,
Are
you
you
just said
serious?
I'm not, but you just equated to like, oh well, if you out people
She didn't
outside,
terminate the baby. She had a miscarriage. That's not the same
but she,
thing.
but I'm going back to the fact that you just said, well, she didn't have financial, she didn't. So like, okay, so
So I
and
mean,
but you're saying you still need to carry that baby, and I don't want it, but I got to carry it and give it up for adoption.
okay.
So we're going to take a break. We'd love to hear your opinion. Give us a call at 414-444-5250 and let us know what you think. We'll be back. You are listening to Respectful Disagreements. I am your co-host, Shahree.
And I am the other co-host, Joel Peterson.
And we are talking about pro-life, pro-choice.
Yeah.
And a woman, a person who is carrying a child, their ability to have the option to have abortion as part of their reproductive health rights. With abortion bans going on across the nation, it is a very hot topic with the overturn of Roe versus Wade. It's been a hot topic in the last couple years, and so yeah, I again, I'm going to just restate that abortion rights is healthcare and healthcare rights, and that uh, they need to exist. They need to exist in our society for the health and wellness of women, for the health and wellness of families in our community, to have the option as part of that, along with coupled with sex education. I'm going to restate that because for me, I think that's the biggest piece of all of this is comprehensive sex education and access to contraception for everyone. Yes, with using contraception. Again, I am not well versed in all of them that is on the market, but the few that I know, they are not 100%, and therefore things can happen. I do feel that when we educate and empower people with sex education, they become more knowledgeable about their own bodies, the bodies of others, um, and having instances of, I know you said you don't believe in mistakes, but that's what some folks call it, will be less because we will have a more educated community around this topic. But things happen. There are times where, again, you said that you agree with the fact that if a woman's life becomes endangered due to pregnancy, and that is the only alternative, that 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 that's a decision that her family need to make in the best interest of her life. And so, with that, and you come from a very religious viewpoint about this as well. And so I feel that also other folks have their own viewpoints on their beliefs, their religion, and how that plays into this. And because of that, all options for reproductive health should always be on the table, and bans, 20 weeks, 14 weeks, any weeks, no bans should be implied on this.
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, I appreciate even you having this conversation, um, because again, it is a very sensitive conversation, and I never want to approach this and come off in a way that is dismissive. You know, with a lot of our other conversations, I'm very dismissive. Um, but with this topic, like I said, I can only imagine someone having to make that decision, and the
Absolutely.
sensitivity and the tension and the stress and the that's something that I can never ever imagine. So again, having this conversation is something that I approach with much reverence. Um, so, but here's the other question that I would have to ask you. If well, let me pose this in a question.
Okay.
So, should the man have any type of um, say so or authority in the fact that this pregnancy can be terminated or not?
I do feel that it is a conversation that needs to be had. Yes. Because I think maybe, and again, this is all anecdotal. This is all, we're talking this out. If I think it plays a big role, because if the other party, a gentleman in this case, is willing to, obviously, I want you to keep the child. I think there's something very powerful in that support, and knowing that someone is going to be there supportive. So who knows, that could change the tide of the conversation.
So,
But at the end of the day,
mhm, that's what I want you to get to.
but at the end of the day, I have to go back to the person who is putting their health uh, pretty much at risk. I
Mhm.
mean, again, I could have the good old Googles look up the percentage and the rate of again, infant mortality and mortality of women, mothers who have passed away in the process of giving birth,
Sure,
and the numbers aren't great.
sure.
And understanding that's a real thing. Yeah, I have to say it has to come down to that at the end of it. Um, do I boy, I understand the conflict there. I understand the how unfair that sounds. I'm very aware, very cognizant of how unfair that sounds. And so I'm responding from a place of two people being civil and understanding that, and not, again, the Tyler Perry drama, that
Hmm.
that some folks think come along with it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I'm really approaching this from the standpoint of two people having a conversation. And obviously, with different opinions, can always get hot. But I'm really coming at it as, you know, someone being semi fearful. I mean, I have three children of my own, two of which were born prematurely, and it is nerve wracking.
Mm-hmm.
It's nerve wracking. I know, but on the flip side, I know some women who's been pregnant and it's like, what? It's
Mm-hmm.
nerve wracking for me.
Sure.
And so I can understand the hesitation, not wanting to, and then layer on um, what that future of someone would, at that point look like. And I get what you're saying. These are thought processes you should have prior to engaging in intercourse, 100%. But I'm also saying that, again, education, contraceptives, we took the right steps to ensure, but something went wrong. And or again, long-term relationship, married couple find themselves at a place where they have to make this decision. And if it's opposing at the end, yes, it comes down to the person who's carrying the life. And I agree. I don't. It's one of those. It's difficult. Like I get it, and I'm not going to disagree with you that it sounds unfair, and it's unfair. But it's also unfair that my life is at danger and that my life and health is at risk when it, again, carrying a
So
life that should be this miracle, this joyous thing, and it's not for everybody. It's not, unfortunately.
yeah, and so like, and I'm glad you said that it sounds unfair, because I feel like that those steps can go even further, right? So if if there's a couple and the man wants to have the child and the woman says no, okay, or let's reverse it. Let's reverse it, just for the sake of argument.
Yeah.
All right, just for the sake of
For the
argument.
sake of
Yeah,
a respectful
a
disagreement.
respectful
shall you?
disagreement. So let's say the man doesn't want the baby
Mhm.
and the woman wants it.
Yes.
He's stating, I don't want this child.
Mhm.
I am not, I'm going to use the same arguments that you've said.
Okay.
I am not ready. I'm not in a financial situation.
Mhm.
I'm not in all the things that work for the woman that you said. He's saying the same things.
Mhm.
Mentally, emotionally, I'm not there.
Mhm.
And she has the child.
Mhm. I know where you're going.
I struggle with
I, I
I struggle with the woman then therefore saying, "Oh, you don't want to be in this child's life? Oh, you don't want to be in this child's life? Then okay, I'm gonna put you on child support. I'm gonna put you on this. I'm gonna put you on that." Right? Because that was the conversation we had last week.
It is.
Right?
Yep.
I'm gonna put you on child support. I'm gonna put you on this. I'm gonna put you on that. So it's like, okay, in every instance in society, whoever has the most power has the most responsibility. In every situation, on your job, on anything, whoever has the most power has the most responsibility. You talking about on your job, the head of the department. If the department crumbles, nobody's going to the bottom level worker and saying no. They're going to hold the person with the most power. They're going to shoulder all the responsibility on him. I'm going to quote the famous philosopher Uncle Ben.
Who was Uncle Ben?
Uncle
the
Ben.
rice? The rice guy?
No, not the rice guy. No. Uncle Ben, Spider-Man.
Who?
Spider-Man's uncle. With great power comes great responsibility.
Oh, that was Uncle Ben?
That's Uncle Ben.
Okay. I'm gonna have to Google that. I
with
didn't know
with,
that was a
with great power comes great responsibility.
okay, Uncle Ben.
So if you have all the power in this situation to veto anything that I say, then how do you hold me responsible afterwards? Like if I feel like you can't, I feel like you can't have it both ways. Like if you say I have all the authority and responsibility on this end, then you got all the authority and responsibility on the other end too. Unless my voice is heard and is of equal value in the sight of the law. If my voice is not of equal value in the sight of the law, then my voice can't be equal value afterwards.
So we went into this conversation and I openly said, I agree that it ain't fair. I don't disagree with you, friend. But at the end of the day, it's a woman's body. It is her right to choose.
So it should be her right to choose it after the baby too. It should
Mhm.
be.
Mm-hmm.
It should be. I don't. So I'm just saying, like, I feel like in every single instance,
You know, boy,
there's no accountability. I feel like in every single instance, before, like, we're talking about,
I just feel like folks don't want women to have a right to choose
Oh,
anything.
come on now. No, I'm just saying it takes two
Well,
people to have a baby.
I get it.
All
I
right.
get
So it takes,
But
you didn't have the baby
you
by
just
yourself.
mentioned like this hierarchy of power, and let's step away from this particular topic and just for a second, in which women have the power
Mhm.
over a decision male wise. And again, this is just coming to my head. Like I'm maybe that's what it is, right? This is why like folks are anti women, anti women's rights.
No, I'm not
But I'm
anti
just
women's rights. I am pro equal rights.
pro
Two different
equal rights.
things.
Okay, yeah, no,
Two different
that
things.
sounds lovely. But I just mean in a greater scheme of things because
Because you
I
wouldn't
don't
be pregnant
disagree.
without my seed.
I don't disagree again that it sounds unfair.
No, it is. It's not. It doesn't sound. It is unfair.
It sounds unfair.
It is unfair.
It sounds unfair. You know what? We wouldn't have this conversation if men carry babies.
You're right, and we wouldn't have this
What? No,
conversation
I'm
if
just
we lived on
saying.
Mars, and we
You
wouldn't
know
have this
what?
conversation.
Oh my
if,
goodness!
Like,
See,
I
here
mean,
we go.
so
Because
like,
so you just
that's well. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Respectfully, go ahead.
I just mean it in a sense of having the ability, having the right. And I'm going to lean into the fact that I said that yes, it does sound unfair.
Yes.
Because it's not unfair when a woman is uh you know during pregnancy, not every woman can continue to work during the full term if
Mhm.
she's able to go full term. Again, I was one who was not. And or the financial stability, say if you need to go on bed rest and you cannot work
Mhm.
and you don't have the ability to work for like
So
all these things. There's a lot of
there's a
levels where
yeah.
in this situation, unless there is some disability of some sort that's not on a man, right?
Mhm.
And continue to work during the pregnancy, after pregnancy, right? It's so because of those are the things for me in why I keep saying it sounds unfair, because we forget about these other steps that women are placed in a bind hole. Because again, like I said, not all pregnancies go well. Therefore, I might have to stay home.
I agree with all of that.
So therefore, to me, that is the heavier weight in which why the decision is there. And why I said I understand it sounds unfair, but that's because you're only talking about that piece. when we start talking about these other pieces for this other 9 months, and even after, because I think about having time off, days off, financial responsibility, daycare, like all of the
So
things that again, typically, sometimes, not all the time,
mhm.
fall under, and what happens, a woman's responsibility, stopping education, stopping work, stopping the pursuit of fill in the blank of whatever it is. Sometimes, not more than not, the woman's life is put on hold to
Okay.
nurture and care for this child.
Okay.
So when we
But
reverse, when we go
you're
back
you're
and say,
you're talking about
"Oh,
like,
that's not unfair," it's like,
but
because
hold
we only
on.
talk about one piece of the situation.
Here's the thing where I feel like it's not comparing apples to apples.
Okay.
Right? You're talking about something that I can't control. Right? You're talking about biology.
Well, a
And
lot of women cannot control whether or
no,
not they.
no. What I'm saying
Oh,
is,
okay.
what I'm saying is, you're talking about all the instances you just made, and all the inferences and all of the examples you just gave has to do with biology, which I can't control that. It's since the beginning, women have carried babies.
Mhm.
It's so that's not a choice you made or I made. That's biology. We're talking about choices.
Right, and I have a choice whether or not I am going to carry this child based upon
So
these
if that's
other
the case,
factors.
so if that's the case,
that
if that is the case, and I do not have equal say,
but I'm going to
then
say
I
that
shouldn't have equal responsibility
but these
after the baby is
these
born.
factors will still remain whether you were there or not.
And it has nothing to do with you. It will be different if you chose it. This will be a whole different conversation.
Right. If I choose to have a child versus
no.
if I
If you
choose not
chose
to.
no. What I'm saying is, it will be a different conversation if you were like, hey, let's have a baby. Okay, I'll carry it. That would be a choice. You aren't choosing this. This is biology.
For some couples that is actual choice, but that could be
What?
another. I said for some couples that is a choice.
What is a choice? What are you talking about?
Of which partner will carry the baby. In female relationships, yes. One of them has to decide who's going to carry the baby.
Okay. Topic for another conversation.
I just said that,
Okay.
but I just want to just.
So what I'm saying is, like, you can't hold that against me because you didn't choose that.
Sure.
I'm
not we're not holding
choose
anything
that.
against anyone. I'm just saying that there's other factors that need to
So that's
be
what.
considered.
So when you're talking about making it not fair,
Mhm.
or it sounds not fair,
Mhm.
it is. It is. That's the truth. It is not fair. So if you have the say to say, I'm gonna carry this baby, and the dad is like, I don't want to carry this baby. I don't want you to have this baby. And you have the final say. With great power comes great responsibility. And that's the way in life, period.
Well, thank you, friend. This is always a great conversation with you to hear your perspective, even though I disagree full-heartedly on it. And I thank you again for showing up and letting me hear all about it. And I look forward to our.
You said that like you thank him for showing up, like you thought he was scared to come or something.
I mean, after a while, I'm pretty sure some folks is kind of tired of hearing from him, but that's okay. Maybe not.
See how she talked to you? Let her talk to you like that, Joe.
It's fine. It's fine.
He used to
delusions are
illusions too.
Yeah, they're running rapid, so I can't deal
It's
with
running
it.
loose too.
Yeah,
It's out here.
Anyways.
Yeah, so she can think whatever she wants.
Great show as usual. You guys,
Thank you.
y'all wrap it up. Y'all finished?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for
You
listening.
gonna let Joel say something before you go?
No.
Why
Go ahead.
Why you always do him
Go
so,
ahead.
so
You
bad?
know what? You know what?
You could let the man say something since y'all co-host.
Do you hear all this talking that's coming from him?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and sign us off.
You
Go ahead and
are
sign us
listening
off.
to Respectful Disagreements with Shahree and Joel. Thank you so much for listening, and we will talk to you again next week.
All right.